Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So I got a question off of the P. Diddy piece that I did a couple of days ago, and the person wanted to know what was the difference between an LLC and a trust. And honestly, it did slip my mind that it was possible that, I'm almost positive, honestly, that P. Diddy has some things inside of a trust because, like I mentioned to you, his properties were not listed under his name. There was only one property that was. There was another that was under his mother's name. And then I noticed that his son, one of his sons, had a whole slew of LLCs. But see, here's the thing. A lot of times, skip tracing tools do not pick up on trusts. Trusts are actually a lot more private than an LLC. So that is one of the main differences between the two. Okay. The other thing is that LLCs are business entities. So whatever intellectual property you may have, business supplies, business products, operations, etc., all of that normally goes under an LLC. With a trust, all of that can go in a trust as well. However, other things such as personal possessions, uh, your personal life insurance, uh, your cryptocurrencies, NFTs, all of that can actually go in a trust. Okay? You typically don't put personal items in an LLC. So that's another difference between the two of them. Okay? But they both pretty much, for the most part, provide protection. An LLC typically protects you from creditors, if it's set up correctly, of course, and as long as you don't do anything illegal, then typically your personal assets can't be seized. Okay? Your business assets can be seized, but not your personal assets. Also, with an LLC, when it comes to skip tracing, all I have to do is type in your name and all the LLCs that you own will come up. If I don't know the name of a person, but I see an LLC, typically I can just go to Dun and Bradstreet, and Dun and Bradstreet will give me the information about that LLC. Plus, there are a few other websites that do the same thing as well, right? Now, with a trust, again, it's a little bit different. If you go to Dun and Bradstreet, you're normally not going to see the trust there. So what you would have to do is, like, let's say you have an address of a property. I'm going to take an example that I had to run into the other day when I was working on a project for a developer and a realtor. You see, they wanted to buy a property that was encroaching on another property. He wanted to build this particular building in a certain area, but in order to get to that building, he had to pass through someone else's property. So he wanted to buy that additional property as well. The property did not belong to an individual per se. It belonged to the trust. And that's the other thing. Whenever you put real estate inside of a trust, it's no longer personal property. It's the property of the trust. So he went to the recorder of deeds office This is in another state, by the way. He went to the Recorder of Deeds office. He found the trust. He found the names on the trust, but the names on the trust did not have an address of where the people lived. So that's why they called me. They found that the address, though, was a New York address. So since they were in Virginia and I'm here in New York, even though I do have my business is also in Virginia, even though that's moving, needless to say, I was on a scavenger hunt to try and track down these people. So the person who drew up the trust, she died. And from my understanding, I believe it was irrevocable, but when a person dies, it becomes revocable. And that was a whole new story. We had to go and consult with the lawyer to figure out how to go about proceeding with this. But while they were going out about trying to figure out how to proceed with this, I did my own research, found out the person died when I went to the building. And that was also something else. The building that the person who passed away was in was a co-op. And typically in New York, they don't tell you who lives in that particular unit, right? So they took my paperwork and kept it anyway, but I continued. I had a feeling that something was off because it said that the person was 115 years old. Now, I know that there are a few people that may be alive that's that old, but I said, nah, something ain't right. So I said, let me look at the relatives. So I tracked them down. They don't all live in New York. The other person that did, she died too. So I ended up finding the sister who was living in Georgia. I believe it was Georgia or Maryland. No, it was Georgia. So that's the thing with the trust, is that with the trust, it's not always easy to track down who owns what. You have to go to the deed office and see who the trust belongs to. And then the other thing that helps, that I didn't, that I realized a little bit later on and didn't catch on quick enough, which would have saved me a whole bunch of time, is I should have went to the tax assessor's office to see who was actually paying the taxes, because whoever pays the taxes, they're going to know what's going on. See, I found a whole bunch of relatives in the process, and many of the relatives weren't even aware that their mother had a trust created. It was the mother and her two sisters. She put her two sisters on the trust. But typically, even though she died, their name was on it, but they just wasn't aware of it. So anyway, needless to say, we found them. Finally, it took about 2 months for me to track everybody down because it was in a trust, and that's the type of privacy that a trust gives. But the other thing that trusts do, besides an extra layer of privacy, trusts help for people to avoid probate, and it also reduces estate taxes. So that's the other beauty, that's the other benefit of trust. Now, I have seen a video recently where someone was showing people how to set up a trust without using a lawyer. Listen, I don't mean to knock this person, but I don't advise that, especially if you're new. If you're new to real estate and you're also new to how trusts are set up, I don't think you should do this on your own. I think you should hire an attorney or at least a paralegal. somebody who knows the law in the state where, if it happens to be real estate, where that property is located. I don't think that you should do this on your own. I would only say do it on your, I would give you the advice of doing it on your own only if you've done it already. Only if, your name is already on a trust with somebody else in your family, so you already know how it's set up, or you've went to school and you've taken some legal courses, because some people take law courses but they never become the lawyer because they never take the bar exam, etc., 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 right? Okay, fine. But I don't agree with people on YouTube or anywhere on social media telling you to act as though you are a lawyer or to perform things that lawyers normally do if you are not at that level, if you are a beginner. No, that is something for people who are either intermediary or expert. And again, I'm somebody, I'll let you know, I'm a real estate investor. I am not an attorney, even though I've worked at a law firm for 25 years. I can kind of get away with it because I have access to them for free. And then I also am an associate for prepaid legal shield. So I can get a lawyer at a discount, right? But I'm not a lawyer myself. I'm not a paralegal. I'm not a staff attorney. I'm not an accountant or any type of tax professional or financial advisor. I'm just sharing with you guys the little that I know. And I want you guys to make smart financial moves. And the best way to make smart financial moves is to hire professionals who know what they're doing. All right. And yes, even though somebody on YouTube or other social media platforms, I'm not saying that they don't know what they're doing, but I'm just saying that I really don't think that you should follow their advice as far as doing it yourself. And also, the other thing to be cautious of is that people sometimes who give you that advice, they don't necessarily mean to harm you or to hurt you or to scam you. They're well intentioned. It's just that unfortunately, if you follow them, you're going to go down the wrong path. One of the main reasons is because each state is like its own country with their own laws, and what works for them may not necessarily work for you. That's number one. And number two, their family structure and family dynamic may be different from yours. Right? So that's why I really want you guys to think about getting a professional and not doing it yourself, especially if you are a newbie. And to be honest, even if you've been at it 10 years or more, I don't think you should do it yourself. I still think you should hire a professional. Hire them to do it one time, and then if you want to get another one, then you do it yourself. That's what I think. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you. Please feel free to share this amongst your friends. Remember, sharing is caring. Each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.